Well, I work for CORE Associations, also known as CORE Internet Council of Registrars. It's a not-for-profit association that has been started for the introduction of new top-level domains. Now, the introduction of new top-level domains in the way CORE sees it should be for the public benefit, for the public trust. And there are many needs that we have identified where new top-level domains are necessary. Of course, we want to contribute to that, and some areas where we have identified particularly important needs are culture and language. We have an example of that, which is .cat. There's going to be a number of other applications that we try to contribute to. There are city TLDs, which is now become an established concept, although there isn't yet one, but there's going to be a number of city TLDs. We know the case of Paris, where the city decided that they wanted to have their own top-level domain. Barcelona has decided that as well. It is decided also for Berlin, and others like New York are currently in the process of making a decision in that respect. So these are top-level domains that respond to a need. Of course, the entire environment that leads to their creation must be looked at not only from inside the ICANN process, but from inside the internet governance process in general. That's why I participate here in the IGF. You can find out more if they go to the corenic.org website, which is the CORE Association itself. But there's also other initiatives, specifically the individual culture and language TLD initiatives. They have their websites we're worth looking at. For instance, one new one is .gal.org, which is the Galician initiative for the Galician language. We have .cym.org, which is for the Welsh culture and language top-level domains. We have the various cities where there are resources on the internet, depending on the process that the city has itself. It may be a separate website, or it may be actually within the communication of the city itself. In the case of .Berlin, for instance, we have .berlin.de, a resource that anybody can see. I mean, we have the .Berlin organization has that. And we try to contribute to the creation of these projects and to the convergence of these projects between them. The explanation isn't as much obvious as that you can do things if you know the people who are involved much more easily than if you don't know them, and have to get along with people who have nothing to do with what you're doing. So in a city, people know each other. There are rules, there are plans, there are policies. They're specific to the city. The city develops according to a certain policy. It has its space, its physical space that it develops in a programmed and convergent fashion with respect to the various stakeholders that are in the city. So a city has naturally its own governance, but the top-level domains generally have a governance structure that is much larger. Either it's just totally worldwide, or it is for an entire country that is much wider scope than that of a city, so it does not match the scope of the city. So there's many things that you cannot do them correctly. People will not find under the domains what they look for, because it's suddenly something is for a totally different person. Even if the name of the city is there, it could be maybe the name of a hotel in Florida, USA. So just because Paris is in the name of the domain, that wouldn't mean that this had anything to do with it, if this .com. Plus, of course, the domains become extremely long. We have to have a long expression to try to say what you're doing, because all the domains that already exist will not be available to you. In the case of a city TLD, because of the meaningful top-level domain itself, it is meaningful what you put in front of it, and of course it is available. That makes a lot of sense. You can have a very short expression that shows what you're doing, what you're offering. One thing to add is that the kind of top-level domains we're looking at, specifically the city TLDs, they're a very good example of how the urban planning concept applies to a top-level domain as well. If you look at the city, it has a planning role. It always had a planning role. Cities have been doing that for thousands of years. It's not been different. And of course, the way they do it evolves. And now they will be in a position to add the virtual space to their planning. So as they can consciously develop a space so that people find in the naming structure, where they search for resources for the city, that they find the things because it is organized, as opposed to just being put together by chance or by first come, first served, as usually the other TLDs must be. There can be things in addition to first come, first served if you are in a CPTLD.